Hey everyone, this is Mr. Mahi. So this is going to be a multiple video sequence, basically. But for this, I'm going to have a few videos that are going to be talking about how we're going to be doing our projects in your dream home landscape, which is this one right here that I've highlighted. So I'm going to give kind of an overview of exactly what's expected. So I'm just going to click on it. So we're on your dream home landscape, and this will be our project. So this is going to be basically an accumulation, or in other words, as a whole, we've been working on a lot of different techniques with the programs, where we first start off with Corel Painter, and learning those shortcut keys and learning how the brushes work and all that kind of stuff, learning how selections work. And then as we've transitioned over to Photoshop, we've taken those techniques that we've learned and we've applied them in Photoshop. And so this is going to be kind of like you're going to be needing to remember how to use all those different tools in order to do this project. And so I'm going to explain this menu I've got right here. Okay, so you can see that there's lesson 1, lesson 2, lesson 3, lesson 4, and lesson 5. And so before we really get into anything, lesson 1 is called the brainstorming process. And so for this particular lesson, which this video is going to be focusing on, we're going to be learning how to effectively brainstorm, or in other words, thinking about why you're doing your art project. What's the meaning behind what you're doing? Okay. And so I'm just going to go ahead and click on lesson 1, and that's going to bring up this this page here. I'm going to scroll this down. And so this is called the brainstorming process. And so basically what I've kind of put down here is brainstorming might be the most important part when it comes to creating an art piece, and that's because you're trying to figure out what you're making. You know, making the things that you're doing is easy. It's the most difficult part is coming up with the idea, and so that's why I think it's really important for us to work on brainstorming. And so you know, graphic designers are also called visual problem solvers. So basically you have a client in like the marketing industry that approaches you with an idea, and they're like, this is kind of what I want. This is what I want it to act like or be like. And now please help me make it work as a visual example. And so that's kind of what this is basically about. And so we have a scenario here, which is creating a brand new shoe design for Nike. And so here's the scenario, or the scenario is the situation, is another way of saying it. So you're a graphic designer working for the company Nike. Yesterday, the creative director, or pretty much the lead of the creative team for Nike, scheduled a meeting with your graphic design team and a new client, or a new person that you're working with for your company. The client would like for the shoe to have some classic features and some sporty features to it. So classic's more just kind of like, you know, more high-end. Sporty is more, you know, what you expect to see in a lot of athletic equipment. So the client, this person that you're working with, has mentioned that they want to have the shoe be in black, gray, and white. Which basically means that's the only colors that they're wanting you to use. So they've focused exactly, they've narrowed down the colors you want, which is black, gray, and white. So what that means is you can't be adding blue, or you can't be adding green or red to the design, because the client has not asked you to do that. You would have to clarify it first, but they've strictly right here stated it has to have black, gray, and white. Okay, right there. So after the meeting, you also heard the client make the following comment: I don't really have any experience in creating art. So you have a situation here. You have someone who wants a nice looking shoe, one that grabs the eye of the viewer. They have given you two styles of shoe that they want you to identify or add into the shoe design. They've mentioned that the shoe color has to be black, gray, and white. But this is the most important, one of the most important things I want to point out here is they've made this comment that says, I don't really have any experience in creating art. So that means they don't have the artistic eye to see the finished product as they're working on it. And so that's where you come into play as the graphic designer, is how am I going to effectively make all of this work? And so as the designer, you have questions that you might want to consider. Okay. So one good question is, how can my team and I create a shoe that has classic and sporty features to it? Another one, which is the second question, how can my team and I use the colors black, gray, and white? You could figure out like what exactly am I wanting for in the classic features? What exactly do the sporting features need to look like? And so basically, you know, the list of questions here could be endless, but it's going to be really difficult for you to brainstorm exactly how this shoe should be created if you don't really understand how to do a brainstorming process. Okay, so that is the scenario that I've kind of started us off with. In the next video, we will be working on taking this scenario information here about this brand new shoe design from Nike, and we'll work on what's called a mind map and figuring out how we can use a mind map to take this information and then come up with an interesting concept for how we can create this shoe. So with that, we will continue on to the next video.